Good morning and welcome to the Vet S.O.S show brought to you by the Who You Know Network. Remember, don't drown in the sea of transition. Grab the Vet S.O.S Life Preserver. I hope you are ready for some serious knowledge bombs being dropped today. We got some great guests bringing us some great information. I'm here as always with my partner, co-host Mark Elder. Mark, how you doing today?
Doing terrific. I am outstanding and ready for a great few segments of guests here. We're ready to spread some knowledge and share the resources that we have out here with the veteran service organizations and all of the great interviews that we have coming up here. We've got some fire going on, so get ready for some bombs to be dropped, like Sean said. Drop those mics and strap in. We've got a great show, great couple of shows here for you.
Absolutely. We're going to be kicking it off with Joe Gionti. Then we got Brian Arrington coming on after that. Jane Babcock's going to come back and visit us. And then Marina Rabanek is going to close out the day. It's going to be some great information. As always, we're using Restream. So if you want to pair your channels with us and broadcast this live over your channels, hit us up in the chat with pairing, hashtag pairing, and we'll know how to do it. Oh. Got another special there too, right there. All right.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, let's give some shout outs. I see we've already got some people in the comments in the chat. Good morning, Chandra Thomas. Great to see you. Good morning, Mark Silverstein. Great to see you as well. Thanks for joining in. Super excited for today. So glad to have you join us. Also, be sure to rep your city where you're tuning in from, and also if you are searching, make sure that you rep what you're searching for. Let us know what you are searching for, what you're trying to transition into as far as industry or career field, what your expertise is, and if you are a resource, recruiter, talent acquisition professional, hiring manager, make sure that you type in the chat and let us know what you are searching for. This network is huge, and we'd love to connect you and be a sourcing partner with you.
Outstanding. So let's jump right into it here. We got Joe Gionti with us. Joe has always had a profound love and respect for all those who have chosen to put on the nation's uniform. He spent some time at the Virginia Military Institute, meeting some incredible individuals whose friendship continues today. But he himself is not a veteran. He goes out of his way to support veterans through his veteran support organization, K9Heroes4Heroes. His personal goal is to do as much as possible to repay those who have chosen to defend our country. K9Heroes4Heroes provides service dogs to veterans and first responders, change dogs and handlers by providing necessary equipment, initial veterinary costs, and associated follow-up training. We are 100% funded through charitable donations. Joe, how are you doing today? It sounds like you got a full house already.
Yeah, doing very well. You can hear Loki jumping into the podcast. He was just saying hi. Appreciate you guys having me on. I'm absolutely honored to be in this lineup of amazing individuals. And first and foremost, thank you guys for your service. You know, Sean.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, as you mentioned, Sean, I'm not a veteran. It's a little late in my stage of my life to do that. So this is my way to pay back you guys that have done so much. And as you read in kind of my little kickoff bio, the profound love and respect I have for all our veterans and all our first responders is why I'm doing this.
Well, thank you for your service with what you do as well, because it's greatly needed. There are, and we're going to get into that, but there are so many people that aren't plugged in, that aren't getting resources, that aren't getting support. They're trying to do it on their own. And so I love what you said, which is pay it forward, right?
Yeah.
In essence, you're paying it forward. And that's what we're all about as well, paying it forward.
One of these days, I'm going to remember which one of my LinkedIn contacts said this, but he said, for those of us that didn't serve those that did. And I'm trying to live by that. It's a great motto. And if that individual is listening, please shoot me a PM so I can start giving you credit for that saying. But my partner, Kennel, also coined the phrase, healing is healing. So the two different healings, the one healing in the heart and the other the dog healing. So it's another kind of sticks with me and really holds true, because I know what Loki, my dog, does for me. And depending on who you ask, I don't have any problems. If you ask my wife, she'll probably say no, he has quite a few. But I know what he does for me, and having him by my side is just phenomenal. And I want that for everybody else.
That's outstanding. I have to ask you. I mean, I'm a dog person. Love dogs. Love German Shepherds specifically. I have an 18-month-old that literally, as a toddler, is tearing up my entire house. Every floorboard where it comes to a point, she is chewed. So when I get ready to move, I have to redo all of them. But I wouldn't trade her for the world. Her personality, you know, what she brings into the house, the energy, it's amazing. So I appreciate the being a dog person. But what made you get into doing service dogs?
It really was my, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to step over you. It was just my pure, profound love for the military and first responder community. It's what can I do? You know, I still have my full-time day job. So, you know, I'm trying to build this up, but what can I do to repay them for everything they've done? That's really what it is. You know, you start with the dog, saw what the benefit it had on me and what other people could see the dog was doing for me. And I wanted to share that. Work with a few veterans that were in the dog community, and it just kind of sparked my interest. Okay, you know, I'm not at their caliber of trainer. I consider myself a novice. I mentor under my partner, Kennel, who I'm sure we'll talk about here in a little bit, and some other individuals. And just looking at how I can repay this community and what I can do for it. Again, it just all goes back to just the absolute love and respect for what you guys have done to put on the uniform, because you guys know better than I do. The battle doesn't end when you take the uniform off. And I want to be there. I've said if I put a dog out there that helps one person, and that's all I'm able to do up until the day I die, then I did good. I helped that one person who I have no doubt will go on to help many others.
So do you come from a military family background, or like how did you get started? Why are you so passionate about helping veterans? Right?
Well, my dad was in the Army. My father-in-law was in the National Guard. Neither of them were combat. They were kind of in between the wars, but I had quite a few uncles that were World War II veterans. And, you know, as a kid, you sit back and listen to their stories because they wouldn't talk to anybody but each other. So you hear some phenomenal stories. I actually have the telegram sent to my grandfather that my mother was born during World War II. He was still in the States, but it was kind of neat. And then I'm a lifelong martial artist. My martial arts instructor he's retired now, but he was a police officer and a deputy sheriff. And then I went to the Virginia Military Institute with the full intentions of going in the service, but life takes you in different directions. So I have all those guys that your classmates are called your brother rats. So I have all my brother rats who I just have profound respect for that chose to put the uniform on. So it's just throughout my life, I've been in that community with those individuals. And it's just, I was brought up that way to respect police, law enforcement, guys in the service. I thank every veteran. I see my kids do that now, which I love the fact they see a veteran, they thank them for their service. They see a cop, they thank them. So it's kind of just been lifelong.
Yeah, Sean and I were talking about that the other day where, and I think maybe even in one of our interviews, I had talked about this where I wasn't even born here, right? I was born in Korea.
Okay.
I was adopted at 5 months old, and, you know, kind of the same thing. I love this country. I love that I'm able to serve. I did serve, and, you know, I'm very patriotic. So, you know, maybe even more so, I guess, from that regard than a lot of Americans. Right?
Yeah, I believe that. You see that a lot with individuals like yourself who weren't born here. Matter of fact, if you go back to World War I, my great grandfather was in the American Army, but still an Italian citizen. You know, and they come out, they get their citizenship, and I think you're right. A lot of times, those people may have more of a respect and love for the country than those of us who are born here. Probably most of us couldn't pass the citizenship test. I might be included in that.
Yes, definitely.
My wife's naturalized too, and we talk about that all the time. She was naturalized at 12, and, you know, I don't know that I could pass it, but
yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about the process? Like how does the process work for the training, and also how does the process work if someone wanted to get a dog?
So what we're going through right now, just a little background on K9Heroes4Heroes. We started up, I filed all the paperwork at the beginning in January of 2021. finally got the IRS or official designation as a 501c3 in September, and then the fundraising began. So I'm working with other nonprofits that are doing the same thing. Have given me advice on how to move forward with this. And that's one of the things I've found out in this community. There are so many people willing to help. And just to back up a little bit as well, American Canine Dynamics, they're a local full training facility here. All our dogs will go through their program. They'll do a majority of the training. I'll help as well, but they're a full service kennel from the pet obedience all the way up to police dogs, which they do have a few on the street. And Travis Lloyd, who is the owner and head trainer there, he's one of my mentors. So we work together. So what it is I've gotten a lot of calls from veterans who are asking the same question. And we have a process. They have some paperwork to fill out, provide your DD-214 and things of that nature. And then what we do is meet with them. If they have a dog, in which we had recently, we'll have them come out to the training facility. We'll evaluate the dog, because not all dogs are suitable for a service dog. So if they have a dog and it's suitable, then we'll start putting together a training program. The optimum is if we can provide you with that puppy, which we'll do, and take you step by step, where alongside of us, you're also training your dog as well. Now, as far as what the dog is going to do, a lot of that's dependent on what the veteran or first responder needs. We've got an individual right now who's going to be one of our first recipients. She was an officer locally here, got a pretty significant fight, her and her partner, and she received some traumatic brain injury. So she came out to the ranch, met myself, Travis, several of his other trainers, and just went over her story and what did she need. And some of the things she needed, which I'm sure you guys have heard before, when the veteran, the first responder goes out in public, they can be anxious. It's not comfortable. Well, the dog can act as a blocking force, can go behind the person. Then they know their 6 is good. Nobody's coming up behind them. Or they can put them in front, get some separation. Or if the veteran or first responder is starting to, for lack of a better word, zone out, starting to focus on something, the dog can nudge them, put some pressure on them to where they got to break their concentration and focus on the dog. So a lot of it can be dependent on what they need. Eventually, we hope to move into where maybe it's an amputee or somebody with their traumatic brain injury has caused them to be immobile, where the dog can go pick up their medicine, go open the door, things of that nature. So a lot of it's going to be dependent on what they need. And then the training will continue. All the puppies start out staying at the training facility, getting daily training sessions with the certified trainers at American Canine Dynamics. And then through that process, the veteran or first responder is going out several times a week so that we can start training them. Because sometimes the most difficult part of training a dog is training the handler. When we got Lloyd, I looked at my wife and daughter. I said, the hardest part about training him is going to be training you two. Because it's that, yeah, you can imagine that went over well.
Break out the stock collars.
Yeah, she wants to put it on me.
Exactly.
It's that consistency.
Yeah. And I know that, the lead time is sometimes, depending on the need, very long. Who is coming to you guys, right? Is it nationally, internationally?
I've actually been getting calls nationally. Obviously, we have to start out locally, where we have people that can come to the training facility. But if it is somebody nationally, I will recommend them to some of the other organizations. Just a couple I'd love to give a shout out to. Mutts with a Mission. They're one of the large organizations. They reached out to me. Hey, how can I help? Here's some forms. Go ahead and change them to suit you. Forgotten Coast Canines, another one. Hey, how can I help? Saving Grace Canines. We're all in the same industry. But the way I say it to people is this is an industry that cannot be oversaturated. The need for service dogs is only going to increase. It's not going to decrease. Yeah, we can be fighting for the same pools of money, but I think we all have the same mindset. Is the goal is to help the veteran or first responder, not K9Heroes4Heroes. K9Heroes4Heroes is just a name that's going to push the dog to the right person, but we want those people taken care of. So I've gotten some national calls, and I've said, hey, tell me who's in your area. If I don't know somebody, I'll see if I can get them, and you can reach out to them as well. So I haven't found too many people in this industry that aren't willing to help. Of course, you've got a few here and there, but you just separate yourself from them and you go to the ones that are of like mindset.
Yeah, that's a shame though that I haven't run into anybody yet in the military transition space that isn't willing to help in one way, shape, or form. So far, it's been completely amazing. I did read because I was doing some research on the military working dogs and how they get rehomed as well.
Yeah.
I read somewhere that there's actually a shortage for the adoption purposes for military working dogs. Have you seen anything on that?
Well, one of the people I follow, and I just watched his PBS special today. You guys may or may not know Project K9Heroes, Jason Johnson. He is probably one of the largest nonprofits. They take military working dogs, police dogs. They try to rehome them. If they can't rehome them, they built a huge facility in Tennessee where they'll take them in. And the ones they do rehome, they'll help pay for veterinary costs. And that's another of the community. Jason's huge. I mean, they're big enough. They rang the bell at the opening day at NASDAQ. That's how big they are. Wow. On LinkedIn, he posted a comment, "Hey, how can I help you?" Of course, I had my little fanboy moment. Yay, But that's what, about how the community is willing to help each other. And we spoke just the other day, just because he's so busy, it was hard to connect. And hey, how can I help? What suggestions I can give you? So you've got Project Canine Hero. I know you've got, I think it's the Warrior Dog Foundation, Mike Ritlin, who is a retired Navy SEAL. And then there's a couple out there. So those organizations are starting to come up as well. But you got to think about those dogs also. Those aren't the average dog. You've got to have somebody that knows what they're doing to be able to handle a dog like that. I'm sure you guys saw the movie that came out, Dog. I can't remember the actor's name. I know a lot in the training community, dog community. We're all worried everybody's going to go out and buy a Malinois. But that movie actually did a pretty good job of showing that this is not the average pet. And I describe those dogs to people. It's a dog on crack. I mean, it's, the only times it stops moving is when it's sleeping. I don't even know if it stops then. But to get, to your point, is just they've got to be very selective on how they rehome those dogs because they've seen a lot. And I've heard stories from those communities where they've actually had to put some of them down because they were too far gone, which is sad.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's super sad. What about those transitioning, right? They've got PTSD, they've got maybe other disabilities. They've got, like me, I'm diabetic. I know they have dogs that actually can tell if your blood sugar is too high or too low. But let's talk about like people that are in transition, whether they're transitioning from active duty or maybe it's a veteran or family of a service member that's in a job hunt, right?
Yeah.
And they have a service dog. How are you seeing that work into somebody's search? Is it deterring employers from hiring somebody? Is it accepted?
I don't have a whole lot of experience on that, but what I can tell you is, and you guys know this as well, you can't deny a service dog entry unless the dog is acting up, barking, biting, has an accident. You really can't deny a service dog. So I was at the local Kubota store the other day and an individual had his dog in there. I don't think it was a service dog, but he had it there. So I think it's becoming more and more accepted. As I'm out in the community with Loki, I love hearing parents say, "Oh, the little kid, of course, oh, look, a doggy." The parents are like, "Oh yeah, it's a service dog, so you can't pet it." So it's starting to become, from what I see, more and more accepted, more and more understood. And I hope that translates over into the job search. But I don't want to say anything to the veteran that may be transitioning that may be wrong. I just know, like, I went to a restaurant that we go to quite often the other day, and must have been somebody new. And they asked if we were eating inside or out. And I said, "Well, I planned on eating inside." And they said, "Well, the health department said we can't have dogs in here." I said, "Well, the health department's wrong." I said, "But I have no problem. We'll go outside. I like the place. I like the people." I said, "I just want you to know, if somebody were to fight you on this, you're going to lose. You can't deny a service dog entry based on the ADA guidelines." And I would encourage anybody with a service dog to really understand the ADA regulations, to know where and where you cannot go. The cannot go, there aren't too many places you can't go with a service dog. But just don't, we all know people abuse it. Put a vest on my, 3-pound choo-choo-doodle or whatever the heck, and it's yipping and barking and running. That's not what it's intended for. And that's my goal, is to bring the awareness up as well. I don't let people pet Loki when we're out because he's working, and they're starting to understand. I'll say, no, he's working right now, but thank you, because the service dog needs to be keyed in on the handler, not everybody around him.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one of the key things we teach them is focusing. Like you were talking about the diabetic service dogs, and you and I had before we went live. I love telling this story because it amazes me, because I don't even know how to do it. I was listening to, I think it was the Anook podcast, and they had individual on that trained diabetic service dogs. This dog woke up out of its own sleep to wake the owner up that the owner was about to have something. That just blows my mind. The dog's asleep, the owner's asleep, and everybody's good to go now. So
that's crazy. That's just insane, mind-blowing that, they can be trained to do that.
What these dogs can do amazes me more and more every day. Every time I learn, I look at Loki. If he's not doing something right, it's because I didn't teach him the right way to do it. It's not his fault. He can only do what I've shown him. But you guys know what you've seen the military working dogs, what they can do is amazing. You got search and rescue dogs, cadaver dogs, COVID dogs now. It's amazing what they can do. And it's far better. I look at it as the medication I hear that they put a lot of guys on with PTSD and TBI. And I talked to a veteran the other day who, it's a cornucopia of pills that it's horrible, and I know a lot of them, once they get a dog, they're good to go. Not 100%, but they're it changes their lives.
That is absolutely amazing. I can hardly get my dog to sit, nonetheless teach it to do anything else at this point. But she does. My brother
talk more about that.
Yeah, my brother taught her how to do high five, and she's been the hit of the veterinary clinic ever since she was about a month old, because she could jump up and give high fives. So that's her big thing. And, so we hang on to that one. But so I have a lot of friends, transitioning service members that own dogs.
Yes.
If you had to if someone required a service dog, would you recommend, or would there be recommendations, like if they have a bunch of dogs already, are there things that they should be, certain types of dogs that maybe they should be trying to have, or what have you, that'll be more compatible, if you brought a service dog into the house?
There are some that are more compatible. You don't always want a dog that's super high drive. Malinois aren't always the best service dogs unless you know how to handle one. So what you're trying to do is also pair the dog with the individual. Is the individual, even though they need a service dog, they still may be very active. So you don't want to get them a lazy dog. You want to get them an active dog. But there was in the civilian side of things, there was somebody that came to me, their spouse needed a service dog, and I know the individual and I know his spouse, and I'm like, you don't want a shepherd. You don't want a Malinois. You need something calm and that doesn't require a lot of attention, or not attention, but a lot of energy. So yeah, you definitely have to look at what's the end goal for the dog and what type of person is it. Can they handle high drive, or do they need a lower drive dog? So yeah, it's all dependent. You really can't say this is your best service dog. I mean, you see a lot of oh my goodness, I just lost my complete train of thought. Golden retrievers and things of that nature that make good service dogs. But again, it's really dependent on what the end goal of the dog is.
Yeah, that's understandable. You definitely want to try to match the personality with the dog. I can see that. Otherwise, you get a little crazy. So we are getting towards the end.
Yeah.
How can people help you? So how can people support what you guys are trying to do? And also, what's the best way that people can connect with you?
I'll tell you, where I get most of my traction is actually on LinkedIn. My LinkedIn blows my Facebook and Instagram away as far as followers. I wouldn't be on this show if it wasn't for LinkedIn. There's a couple other things that I was able to be part of because of LinkedIn, but I'm on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook. If you look in my profile, there's an email address, there's a cell phone number. Of course, always donations are we need donations. I've got people wanting to offer dogs, but I need the money to train them as well. So if you can't afford to donate, share our story. You guys know, you get that algorithm going, it pushes you up. More and more people are going to see it. If you know philanthropic individuals, corporations, companies that may be interested, we're going to be the charity of a car show coming up here in our local area. But pass on my information. As you guys have already figured out in this 30 minutes, I'm not a very shy individual. So I have no problem talking with anybody about our mission. And when they see what we're trying to do and they see our training facility at American Canine Dynamics, they're going to want to jump on board. It's an amazing training facility with amazing trainers as well. So yeah, if you can donate, great. Look us up on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn. The website's getting developed right now. I know I need that for some of the organizations I actually want to be part of, but give me a phone call. I'll take that call. I might not be able to answer it right away, but I will get back with you.
What about people looking for work? I mean, are you guys looking to bring in people, additional trainers, things like that?
Eventually, I'm not there yet. As the organization grows, most definitely we will. But right now, we're very small. American Canine Dynamics has 3 full-time trainers and an administrator right now. They're going to grow leaps and bounds as well when people see what they can do, from pet obedience to these service dogs. And again, they have police dogs out on the street already. So as we grow, absolutely we will. That would be an absolute dream, is if I start hiring veterans and first responders as trainers. But just remember, you guys out there, you can train your own service dog. That's allowed by the ADA. You really can. Just follow
Oh, really?
the guide.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
If you look at the ADA regulations, it does not have to be a professional organization. I would recommend it.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Well, and if you're passionate, right, about that industry, I guess we want to call it an industry.
Yeah.
There's always volunteer opportunities. So if you're in Ohio and you want to, get in touch with Joe and do some volunteering, fantastic. But for you that are in transition, you may not have that volunteering on your resume, right? Maybe you haven't done a lot of, charitable work, volunteering, etc. And I actually just talked to somebody, and they had said that that's one of the first things that they look for. They go to the page, bottom of page 2 on people's resumes, and look at what they're doing, right? As far as giving back. And those people go to the top of the pile. So that's a great way to get involved too.
But, veterans, first responders out there that are watching this, even if you just want an ear to chew, I'm here for you. I may not be able to, I won't know what you've gone through because I haven't been there, but I can be an ear for you to chew on, and I can be a good listener for you. So outside of dogs, I'm here for whatever this community needs.
That's outstanding. Definitely appreciate you coming on today, Joe, telling us your story, sharing with us and the audience the great things you guys are doing for first responders and veterans. Just an amazing mission. Something near and dear to my heart. Like I said, I love German Shepherds. You and I are going to have to talk because I can barely teach her to sit. So we definitely need to link up and then talk about there. But everybody watching this, please look to support Joe and his organization here. They're doing great things. The K9Heroes4Heroes, check them out on LinkedIn. And like I said, we thank you for coming on today, Joe, and look forward to talking to you again someday.
Sounds good, guys. Thank you for your service. God bless.
All right. Thank you. All right. Thank you for tuning into this episode. Remember, don't drown in the sea of transition. Grab the Vet S.O.S Life Preserver. And we'll be back.